Welcome to Financial Focus, brought to you by Gulf Coast Financial Services founder and CEO, John Kuykendall. John and his team of financial, legal, and tax professionals have provided North Florida savers and investors sound, comprehensive financial guidance for over 25 years, helping you to achieve important life and planning goals. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more Financial Focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net.
And welcome into the program. This is Financial Focus with the best of the best in financial services, as named by the Lake City Reporter, 7 years and running. The team from Gulf Coast Financial Services and the founder and CEO, John Kuykendall, is here with us on the program, as always, providing us the guidance, the insight to uncomplicate the financial world, give us the information that we need to know, and identify those things that we need to be thinking about and addressing. And John, today we're going to be talking about some things that can surprise savers and investors that really we need to plan and prepare for.
Well, that's right, Peter. And I think anytime one thing we talk about on this show is that we need to be prepared. And we have to be prepared for retirement. There are going to be enough surprises without us trying to eliminate as many as we can. That's the one thing that happened to me. I really always thought that when we got to be 65, we got on Social Security, we got on Medicare, life would be a breeze and taxes would go down and the government was tired of taking my money. And I found out that that's really not true, Peter. It's much more complicated than we ever thought.
The government never tires from taking our money, it seems, John.
No. And I want to tell you something. There are certain things that they can really figure out. And one of them is if you make too much money for that Medicare IRMA, they find that out really quick. I'm amazed.
Yep. Well, we are going to be talking about taxes. We're going to be talking about the cost of Medicare. These are things that absolutely can surprise people if they have not sat down with a planner and constructed the plan. Luckily, and for one of the several reasons that Gulf Coast Financial Services has been named best of the best, is you sit down with your clients and you discuss these matters. You through the experience of yourself and through all of the other savers and investors that you have helped plan and prepare, you can help others identify these items, and that's part of the planning process, the review, the strategy session, and the financially focused retirement income plan that you put together. In addition to that, this great resource, Are You Ready to Retire? This is 12 questions to answer as you are preparing for retirement or moving through retirement that will really help you to identify and address some items that could otherwise jump up and surprise us. We would rather be prepared, not surprised, expect the unexpected, and that's why you have to have a plan put together, ladies and gentlemen, and this list is a great place to start, even on your own time. If you would like this resource, the Are You Ready to Retire list, or if you would like that strategy session and the financially focused retirement income plan, pick up the phone, give a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. But one thing we need to be prepared for, John, is a loss of income. During our working career, that can unfortunately happen unexpectedly. But for retirement, we're actually planning on a loss of income, and a lot of people haven't even addressed that one.
Well, that's right, Peter. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that I'm not going to get that weekly or monthly check or every other week check, and I'm paying myself. And so we have to set aside enough money that we can cover ourselves because we are our retirement. The government Social Security is going to be about 40% of our retirement, maybe a little less, 30% to 40%. And the rest of it, we're going to have to come up with. And, the one thing I've said here is over and over again is that we do more now than we used to do. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning. I bought a 49 Ford pickup truck, and it's a nice little truck, but it is really not as comfortable as my 2020 Ford, because back then, 70 years ago, we didn't travel as much. The roads weren't as good. A truck was for the farm and to get, stuff moved from one point to the other. And so our lifestyles have changed. What we do has changed. And so we have to be ready for that. We have to be ready for those go-go years, which are the first years of retirement.
And we have to be ready to produce the income during those go-go years. One of the common financial myths, and another resource that you have made available on this program, one of those myths detailed the belief and what is commonly a misconception that we're going to need significantly less income after we retire. John, in my life, I know I'm either at work earning money or out of work spending money. Retirement, like every day, is a Saturday on vacation. That's when you spend the most money.
Well, that's right, Peter. And I don't know where we came up with that we felt like that people were going to retire and vegetate in front of the TV set. I don't think with the clients we're preparing and planning for now use just as much money as they used while they were working. In fact,
that might be another thing that has changed over time, though. Just like the truck's purpose has changed, what we envision doing in retirement has changed.
Well, I know from my father, when he retired, he played golf a little bit, but he didn't travel. He didn't, that just wasn't the way he was brought up. If we went home to his home in Mississippi, we drove all day and all night to get there, never stayed in a motel. That was just the way he was brought up. And so he didn't do as much. He didn't take the cruises. He didn't go to Alaska. He didn't buy a camper van and drive to Idaho. There were certain things that he just didn't do. So he didn't need as much to get by as people do today. People today want to live their lives to the fullest. We don't want to look back and say, hey, I wish I'd have done that, because now we can do it.
Well, along with doing those things, it costs money. We need an income, and the amount of that income should not be a surprise for you in retirement. You should plan for that ahead of time and proactively. And that's why number 2, have you identified and calculated your retirement income gap? That is going to help you to avoid being surprised and be more prepared for the amount of income that you do need to generate in retirement. That's a process that you walk through in designing those plans, John.
Well, that's right, Peter. What we want to do is we want to calculate how much people are going to need during retirement. We're going to try to plan in if they're going to buy a car in 2 years, or I want to retire and then buy a car, or I'm going to go on a trip, or I need a shed, or whatever they're going to need. We put that into the plan, and then we look for the income gap, which the income gap is the amount of money that I've got coming in each month that I know I can plan on, and then how much am I going to spend? So the difference is how much I've got to either get from some other source of predictable income, or I've got to take it out of my investments.
Well, we need to be prepared if we are going to take that out of our investments for how to generate it. And that causes what you started the program with, the IRS not forgetting about us in retirement, taxes. Another thing that, if we have not specifically addressed it through the planning process, can surprise people. And John, some of the assumptions that plans are based on actually underestimates the amount that is going to be taxed in retirement, which puts our projections a little off course.
Yeah, Peter, and that's why we use a special software that we use just to calculate taxes and a moving scale. So if you're going to pull more money out of your retirement account and it's taxable, which if it's come out of a traditional IRA, it's 100% taxable, then we're going to slide you on the scale and see how much you can take out before we reach another income bracket, income tax bracket. A lot of people think Social Security is not taxed. But based upon how much money you earn, up to 50% or 85% of your Social Security can be subject to taxes. It's not, some people don't have taxes, but it is subject to taxes. So that has to be included in the calculation, Peter.
Well, we need to think about the amount of income we're going to generate and how much that is going to be taxed. You don't want those things to be surprises, ladies and gentlemen. That's why you need to forecast these things out and put the pen to paper, plan and calculate and decipher and put your order of operations together. That will help you prevent unpleasant surprises in retirement. Pick up the phone, give John Kuykendall a call for that planning review, that strategy session, that financially focused retirement income plan. 386-755-9018. That's 386-755-9018. And John, for your current clients, you've already gone through this process, but there's still things that come up that need to be reviewed and updated. Inflation being another one of those big topics we're hearing a lot about. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. And then all of a sudden it is. We're paying more for things, and all of a sudden we're surprised by that.
Well, you got to realize with all the stimulus and everything that's out there, certainly we're going to have, and the shortage of goods and products and labor, we're going to have inflation. We're having to pay more for people to work in our offices. I saw the other day that Taco Bell's $15 an hour. Well, they're not going to have a big dollar menu if they're paying $15 an hour to their employees. So you got to pay more. I mean, that's just natural. So we have to figure in some type of inflation. Now, some plans, and in reality, we used to use a lower number. We're using 3 and 4% right now in our plans because the historical average is over 3. And the last time I checked, we were close to 6 for inflation this year. In fact, there's talking that the Fed's going to do some things to help stimulate this inflation that we're in.
Well, again, planning proactively is going to help us to identify these things that could surprise us. The outcome of our plan only as good as the assumptions that it's based off of. John, unfortunately, you've talked about on the program, you've seen lots of, we'll call them plans, but truly projections that assume somebody's going to need the same amount of income 20, 25, 30 years into the future that they need today. And that's just not the case, nor is it the case that we can always count and rely on the market to always go up. I'm actually in a couple financial discussion forums, and it gives me food for thought and fodder for conversation for this radio program. Somebody was in there the other day, retired or thinking of retiring, and they said, we can count on an 8% return in the market. And I, just based on the conversations we've had, I had to question that. I say, we can't really count on that because there have been several periods in the market where it goes down and extended periods where it makes almost no progress at all.
Well, that's true, Peter. And there have been periods of time that we've, like 10, 13-year periods where we've made absolutely no gain. We started off at one number and we ended up at the same number 13 years later. So how can I say that I can get an 8% return, guaranteed, consistent every year? I can't do it. I mean, there's no way. The market doesn't work that way. The average investor makes less than 3% in the stock market. And that's because, based upon all the studies, we're exuberant. So we get in, the market starts going down, and then we get out, or we don't look at it and the market loses 50, 60%. And then I'm going to start taking my money out. So if I'm pulling my money out and the market's trying to make up for what I've lost, how can I have that to last me for my retirement years? The market should be your growth bucket that you're looking to fund your discretionaries. It should never be the bucket that you're using to make a predictable income that you have to have every year. And Peter, one thing we got to remember is there are two things that are facing a lot of retirees right now. We try to include those in our plans. One is that Social Security may run out of money soon, and we may have to take a 25 or 26% haircut. So if I have that cut and then my spouse dies and I lose her income, then I could end up taking a 40 or 45% cut in income. But I can tell you my expenses didn't go down that much.
And John, that unfortunately is something that should not surprise anyone, but does time and time again. We see that surviving spouse is surprised by the drop of income. When those are the rules, that's how the system is set up from day one. We just don't receive the information and education to be fully aware of the impact that loss of income is going to make. And again, this is just emphasizing the importance of planning and being proactive. And then once that plan is in place, doing regular reviews and updates, staying in touch, very carefully examining the assumptions that our plan and therefore our financial future is based off of. And that's exactly what John Kuykendall and his team at Gulf Coast Financial Services do for their clients. They help to design that plan, and then they help to review and monitor and update those plans on an ongoing basis. Pick up the phone and give a call, 386-755-9018. That's 386-755-9018. Request your opportunity, no cost, no obligation, to get that financially focused plan. Or you can visit online, gulfcoastfinancial.net, gulfcoastfinancial.net. John, another thing that you've talked about, you have found many investors surprised by. When you do the investment portfolio review and analysis, you find that many people are surprised by the amount that they are paying in fees. This is something that we should also have a pretty clear understanding of.
Oh yeah, Peter. I mean, that's the one thing we look at is how much fees, how much of my total fees am I paying? And if I'm paying 3 or 4 or 5% in fees, then I've got to make that up before I get any gain. So, in that particular case, the individual you were talking about in your forum, I'd have to make 13% consistently in order to beat the fees if I was at a 5% and to get an 8% return. Fees are certainly something that we have to take a look at, and we have to, we have to balance those out and make sure that we are at the lowest point we can be for fees, because we just don't want to pay more than we have to. But unfortunately, time you look at the advisor fee, the management fee, the mutual fund expense fee, any kind of hidden trading cost, there's just a lot of fees that are added into these things. And variable annuities are one of the worst, unfortunately. There's a lot of fees associated with variable annuities.
You touched on it at the beginning of the program, but the cost for medical coverage in retirement, a lot of people sort of have the thinking, John, that Medicare is going to be a free of charge service for us, free insurance once we hit 65. That is not the case, nor does it cover everything that we're going to need health-wise in retirement.
No, Peter, and I kind of thought that myself. I thought, when I got on Medicare, my premium would go down. Actually, I'm paying more now than I paid when I was actually on insurance with the company, because our Part B, which is given to us by the government, we pay for it, but it is indexed for income. So the more income I make, the more I have to pay. And that can go up to $400 and something. So there's a lot of leeway there from 147 to 400. So we have to be careful which bracket we're in when we're pulling money out. The other thing is that our drug card, our Part D, will also go up based on inflation. So we have to worry about that. And believe me, these things will be picked up by the IRS very quickly. The IRMA, which is what we call that Part B increase, they pick that up every year. I just got my notice not too long ago about how much mine's going to be for next year. It ain't cheap. Mm-hmm. The other thing too is Medicare does not cover long-term care. It doesn't cover skilled nursing. You might as well forget it. If you're thinking that, well, I'm going to be able to go on Medicaid, which is a federal government and it's state run, that unless you don't have any assets at all, then you can't depend on that, because Medicaid is going to take your Social Security, they're going to take your pensions, and then they're going to look at your assets. You got to spend them down to $1,800, and then they're going to, after that, maybe give your wife a little stipend or your spouse, and then they'll pay the difference. And in most of the cases I've looked where my people have good fixed income, but not a lot of assets, thinking they're going to let Medicaid pay it, Medicaid paid a very small portion of that long-term care bill.
Well, John, on today's program, we've been talking about financial surprises, and oftentimes the things that do bite us, that we get surprised by could be identified early on through a proactive planning process. If we took just a little bit of time, kept an open mind, educated ourselves, thought through the risks that we will face into the future and the assumptions that our projections are based on, and actually formulated the plan, we could identify some of those surprises so that we are not surprised and we are more prepared. That's the goal of that financially focused plan. And ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to get that put together, pick up the phone, give John Kuykendall and the team from Gulf Coast Financial Services a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. And in fact, John, not all surprises are unpleasant. Sometimes through that planning review process, you help people become surprised that they are actually in better shape or could do more with their money than they expected.
Well, that's true, Peter. And a lot of times, as I said on the show, people come in wondering whether they can retire or not. And it's really nice for me to be able to say, look, you're in great shape. We need to make a few tweaks. And if we do that, you can retire anytime you want to. Then I have to almost talk them into retirement every time we meet, because nobody wants to retire after that.
It's funny. It is interesting how work is much more enjoyable if we know we could leave if we wanted to.
Yeah, isn't it though? Yes, it is.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like any of the resources that we've talked about on today's program, the 7 common financial myths or the 1-page 12 questions, are you ready to retire sheet, these are great food for thought if you are thinking of retiring, if you know someone who is thinking of retiring, a family member, a parent, a child, a coworker, if they've got retirement on their mind. Certainly either one of these resources, great food for thought for them to consider carefully. But the true value is in putting a plan together, identifying some of these things that have unfortunately surprised others that we can proactively plan and prepare for. John Kuykendall will help you with that, with the guidance of an experienced, qualified professional looking from a financial and a tax planning aspect. He's got that sister company, Gulf Coast Tax Advantage, all under one roof there, and help you bring those plans together. Pick up the phone, give a call, 386-755-9018. That's 386-755-9018. John, always a pleasure. Thanks for always giving us the information and bringing up some of these things that we don't want to be surprised by here on Financially Focused.
Well, thank you, Peter. I hope that people out there will reach out to us and get those papers from us. Thank you.
Always a pleasure speaking with John Kuykendall. He's looking forward to hearing from you, helping in any way he can. Give a call, 386-755-9018. We'll talk to you soon.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more Financial Focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovac Securities Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc. is not affiliated with Kovac Securities Inc. or Kovac Advisors Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions.